Welcome to the Overflow Podcast at theoverflowpodcast.com. As always, my name is Joaquin.
I'm Jake.
And today we have a very special guest, and his name is?
Junior.
His name is Junior. Junior Padilla. Padilla. Gorilla.
That's JP.
Gorilla. Yeah, JP.
That's the real JP.
From the villa.
So, he's one of the village people. So,
Nashville.
Oh, word.
Well, I'm really from New York.
There you go.
all right.
So it'll be the village.
So another New Yorker. I am outnumbered, but I'm not outgunned.
But you are outclassed.
Yeah, that's a stretch. That's a stretch. So as always, what's up, fellas? How's it going?
What's good? What's good?
Chilling.
What you doing down here, Junior?
Man, you know what I'm doing here. I came to visit y'all.
Junior came to visit
Lies.
and collect the check.
Lies.
Y'all funny.
I should say he came to collect the check, and then he was
And
like,
visit.
and he was like, "Yo, by the way, since I'm gonna be down there, can I sleep on the floor?"
You funny.
You stupid.
And then of course he's got his girl, the love of his
My
life.
ride or die chick.
Uh-huh.
He got the ferocious
Mocha choka loca.
bully,
The
Mocha.
ferocious Mocha, who is doing a very good job of being a guard dog right now.
Yeah, she's knocked out.
Yeah, I keep her awake. Man.
And
I
then
don't let her
she'll
sleep.
come up and then she'll start leaning on you like, "Pet me."
Yo, she forces you to pet her.
Yes.
But if not, she'll whip you with her tail.
But anyway, so you came down to so Junior came down to play at Encounter Church where me
At
and
church,
Jay
yeah.
go. They needed a drummer for this week, and
Man, that was a blessing, man. It
so
was-
what-
it
so
was
what
a
you
lot of fun.
so you know, we didn't really talk about it. What'd you think of the church? Because we know
I
how
loved
picky you
it.
are.
I did.
I talked about it with Jay a little bit. We didn't talk about it.
Right.
But no, man, I'm impressed on so many levels, man. Like the preacher, the pastor, I don't know his name,
Hunter.
Hunter.
You need to listen to our episode,
solid-
Aichiwawa.
Solid word. Very strong gospel,
Yes.
and you know I appreciate that. That's very rare these days.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
people with his stance, and then, for it being such a small church to Atlanta standards, because it's not actually a small church, not in my opinion. It's
Right.
not,
I
it's
think
not a small church.
I think he said 130.
Yeah, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, it's
And that's even with all the
it's-
people that were not here.
To me, that's something that is it's no longer a church plant. Once you go past 100 members, that's not a church plant anymore. It's a church.
Well, according to the church planting people,
It's still a
it's
church.
still a church.
Well,
plant.
I get it. It's
It's
a
still
money.
church plant. It's not even like an established church yet.
Yeah, like
It's still a church plant.
200.
No, it's,
200 is still considered a church plant.
that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, tell me about
So when you get 201, that's it. You're out.
That's it, you're a church.
You're a church.
it.
Nah,
When you
like,
get 201, you got to pick one. You got to pick somebody
I'll
to
tell
kick
you
him
what-
out.
I'll tell you what makes it a church.
You're a real
man.
church.
It's the culture of the church. Like
Yes.
he was talking about culture, and I'm looking at the church, and there's probably representing like 30 different cultures. I mean, I'm grabbing a number out of my hat, obviously.
Right.
But I mean, I saw black, I saw Hispanics, and I'm talking about all of Central America, pretty much. Right.
Yes.
And then you have people from the Middle East. You have a regular, like American people.
Yeah.
You have
Caribbean,
the regular
they're
people.
the
Right,
regular
right.
Atlanta people.
No flavor.
Then you have
no
the, then
flavor.
you have the regular
Vanilla.
black and whites.
You have
Like
you
the
have
cookies.
black culture. You have
Right.
then you have the Caribbean. You have Cuban, Dominican, Puerto Rico. You got Polacks. You're like
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah, you got everything in there.
Yeah.
So like that really impressed me. That happened. I don't know how it happened, how he attracted that kind of a congregation, but just the fact that they're there,
Right.
it's a huge deal.
Right,
to
because the lead singer of the worship guy,
Filipino.
he's Filipino.
Filipino,
yeah.
I was gonna say
Filipino.
he's some Asian.
Yeah,
He's
he's
Filipino.
Filipino. That's a whole nother part of the world too, So yeah, it's a beautiful thing, man. When people, it's funny because people talk about heaven, like what heaven's gonna look
Right.
like. And there's like
And
cliches.
they all get it wrong.
Everybody says, cliches.
Right, it's
oh,
gonna
like
be segregated. No, wait, no, it's not. It's not gonna be. It's not gonna be.
No, like they have a beautiful picture of it. Like in such a small church, they have a beautiful picture of having everybody together.
Right, and we actually had a conversation about that in the car a couple weeks ago, last week actually with Mike, with Michael about the church. It's very organic how that happened. He set out. It was like part of the vision is to have kind of a diverse church, but then it just kind of grew into that. He brought a bunch of people with him. So I mean, I think it's because, and we think it's part of it is just because he's a white guy married to a Mexican lady.
Yeah,
And that alone will attract.
it sparks it.
Attracts people that might not think. Well, wait a minute. Well, the pastor's marriage is diverse.
Well, the pastor, I asked the pastor that question, and the pastor, and I think maybe the co-pastor, they were together, and they mentioned of the way they reach people. They were talking about how they do outreach, and they were like, well, we just reach out to people in the community.
Yeah.
Right.
Meaning that they don't care what they look like.
Right.
Like they're just reaching out to people to help them, and in reaching out to help them, that's what they got.
Right.
And that's the beauty of it.
Right. And I think that's what when churches talk about we want to be diverse, they're what they're talking about is we want to have black people, we want to have Latino people,
Right.
we want to have Asian people. And so then their focus is kind of like we want to target these groups.
Right.
Where then it doesn't happen because it's organic. It's very organic the way it happened at Encounter, which is what we appreciate. Is the fact that listen, we're just going to preach the gospel, and then God's going to attract
whoever
people.
God sends, that's who we're going
And
to
that's
preach
it.
to.
And that's how it should be.
Right.
I think that's how you get at diversity. Even if you look at a church and you're like, well, they're not that diverse, but if you're preaching the gospel, and the Holy Spirit is bringing people in, you're going to achieve diversity regardless of what that you think that might look like.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
He said, well, those are the people that are around here. Like he was like, that's the people in Atlanta.
Right.
Like that's who's out here, and these are the people that we reach.
Yeah, so
like, that's great.
Yeah, so it was awesome. I told you about the worship, right? It's a big sound for a little room.
It was big, wasn't it?
It's a big sound, and
was big.
it can, like I remember I told you like it could compete with like some of these mega churches almost.
Absolutely.
As far as just that the sound of it, but it's still very kind of intimate, where you kind of lose out in some of the bigger places. So
Yeah, no room for a stage.
I think that was really cool that there was no stage, no separation between
Right.
the worship ministers
Right.
and
when
the
they
congregation.
asked me to speak a couple weeks ago, I brought my own stage because I need that separation.
Oh, you need to be elevated.
I need to be elevated.
Yeah, I see.
above
I
others.
can see that.
I mean, I'm super tall. I'm always elevated.
I bring my milk
You
crate.
bring your own soapbox. That's funny.
Very true.
I
Very
put-
true.
I put it up there.
He has a collapsible soapbox that he carries in the car with him.
Carries with me
Excuse me.
everywhere I go. All right. All right. So we got Junior Jay. Anything kind of fun happened this weekend with you? You posted on it. I thought that was probably the funnest thing that happened.
The funnest thing was we went strawberry picking yesterday. Right? We went strawberry picking yesterday, and it was, it's with Bean, right? So they advertised that they had a petting zoo, right? Yo, June, you're gonna love this. They have a petting zoo, right? So we go strawberry picking,
Right.
no more baskets. Now they do like the little containers, right? So it filled up really fast.
Get out of here.
Right? It filled up really fast. But it's fun because they have a park and they have a petting zoo, and then they have a hayride thing, right? I'm getting somewhere. So it was funny because of the in-laws, Bean has been learning a lot more Polish. When we were picking strawberries, he was speaking Spanish. Mira, papi, mira que grande, mira lo ahí, mira. That's what like,
So many jokes.
So many jokes, right? So many jokes.
Oh, so many jokes.
Right? So anyway, right? So the little containers filled up quick. So we went to the playground, this big jumping thing, right? So then I'm like, yo, let's go to the petting zoo. Right? Because you're like, what little kid doesn't like a petting zoo? You ready? The petting zoo was nothing but goats.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Nothing but goats.
That's about the only thing you can have that you can pet that won't eat you.
They didn't have anything, nothing at all. Just a bunch of cabritos breathing around everywhere.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Nothing but goats. And we
And you got to pay to get in to
no,
like,
it's
pet the goats?
no. You pay for
I was like, how?
for one thing. It's for everything.
Oh, okay.
So, but I'm laughing because I'm like, where's the zoo? At least,
It's a zoo.
I think
at least have a chicken.
I think the zoo is you, and the goats get to hang out with you.
Yeah, the ghosts get to see all the weirdos.
Yo, so everybody was just like standing, looking around. Of course, the kids are like, because it was a lot of like kids, like small goats, and like so all the little kids were like petting all the little goats or whatever. Right? They had the big ones, you know. But so muerding. They had the big ones
What
like
bites?
behind fences.
Goats.
I had ghosts in every bit.
Yeah, I
They'll bite.
had goats that big,
They'll,
right?
they'll
But
bite and kick you too, and
yeah,
and,
they'll
ram you.
and ram you.
And ram you.
I had one ramming my.
I mean, I know. Yeah, I know.
I had
know
one
about the
ramming-
I had goats growing up, like legit goats, man.
I had one ramming my shoes. Like he kept ramming my feet, right? Pero there was one that kept like trying to jump into the stroller to like eat what was in the stroller.
That's
And we're like
hilarious.
trying to get it off, right? And Magda's like, no, like just like waving her hands, thinking it was gonna get out. I was like, you need to physically grab that little thing and take it off the stroller, right? And then when she like picked it up and put it away, it came right back, but this time it jumped on. And it was just like trying to, I was like, yo, smack that goat the hell off.
Yeah.
Because I'm guessing she's never had goats, right? And I'm like, oh, you need to like, something the eight.
Goats are hard headed, man.
They very.
They're hard
Yeah.
I
headed.
was like, hey, get out of there, right?
Tell you
And
what.
I smacked it. I smacked it in the, smacked it on the
On the side. or
on the
whatever.
side of his leg,
Yeah,
and then
they're
it just
great.
started.
They're great for the
hopping-
grass,
hopping
though.
away.
They're great for cutting grass.
Great for cutting grass,
Like if you know,
and they're also delicious.
just let them out.
I like the delicious part.
They're also delicious.
They are pretty good. But you got to cook them right.
You got to cook them right.
Goats like deer,
Smell.
like deer. You have to cook them right. If not, then it's just tough and it's not very good.
Uh huh.
Then it's just jerky.
And they also smell. The smell when you're cooking a goat is horrible, but it's delicious.
Wait, you're supposed to take the skin off of them and the hair. Then it doesn't
It's
smell as bad.
delicious. No, it still smells bad.
Doesn't smell as bad.
Oh, and then the hayride. Ready? The hayride was like a tractor pulling something, like some created something with
Like
benches
like
inside,
a
right?
cart.
Yeah, and there was no hay anywhere.
No hay.
No hay on the hayride, and it pulled us out to the field where there were a bunch of cows and cow pies everywhere, and it stopped in the middle of the field. Dude gives everybody bread to feed the cows that come over to eat like bread.
That's hilarious.
And I'm just like,
I didn't even know cows eat bread.
the cows eat anything. I'm like,
Yeah, they're not.
hey, Bean, come here, Bean, here. Give the cow bread. And Mike's like, no, Bean, it's going to snap his fingers. It's like, no, it's
No.
not. So you never been around a cow? What the heck's wrong with you? I thought you grew up in a farm in Poland. And he was there giving it bread. And the dad is like, hey, come here. Look, put your finger here so that the cow could lick his hand. Yeah. I mean, for his experience,
It
I'm
was
good.
worth it.
I'm
Okay.
good. Like, get all excited with the goats and the cows. I'm like, funniest part before I stop yapping. At the petting zoo, they had one of those, you know how they do those cutouts so you could stick your head in and take a picture? Right? It was a cow, a chicken, a rooster, all these animals that were not at the
there.
zoo. And no goat. It's like, no goat. At least have a goat painted there as
No,
well.
because
but
they
no
have goats. You put the animals you don't have.
That was your multi-animal experience.
That was how diverse
Yeah,
that farm was.
Yep.
Doesn't matter because it's about the strawberries, and those strawberries were good.
Were they? Yeah.
Yeah, they were like there was. I wasn't gonna have any, but I kind of went and had a couple, and it was like,
No, they were good.
Wow.
yeah, really.
And I don't like strawberries, but that. And the first thing that we mentioned
Excuse me.
when we got into the house,
Strawberries.
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 When we got into the house, was like, look, this is why people buy all those strawberries with the stuff added to them and the GMOs and all that stuff, because one strawberry can feed 3 people. Like these fresh organic strawberries from the farm
They're
are
tiny.
small as hell.
Yeah, they're tiny, and they don't look nice either.
Yeah, what you don't know is those strawberries are GMO. They just engineered them to be small so that people that are about
please,
non-GMO nonsense are like, oh, no, these are not GMO. No, those are GMO. It's all a scam. They're all GMO. Everything is GMO. The air we breathe is GMO. All right, well, that's what's up. So Junior came to play drums, and Jay went and picked
Strawberries.
strawberries.
So what have you done?
I picked
I
strawberries.
did not do
I picked some strawberries.
a thing. I didn't do anything this weekend. This weekend was very non-productive.
Let's not lie. I didn't pick any strawberries. I didn't pick any strawberries at all. Mira, nene, mira ya. Go pick that one. Get that one. Get that one.
Well, especially strawberry because they're so close to the ground. You would have picked peaches if you guys went to pick peaches because I would have been picking up bean.
Yeah, I mean we did that when we went apple picking.
You would have got your exercise, your workout.
I had to pick up Bean and Kenny because Kenny was with us too.
Oh, that
to
little
pick apples.
sandbag.
So
That kid was heavy.
that kid was heavy.
Probably still is. Nah, man, my weekend was cool. I had coffee with a guy from the church. That was like I came home and took a nap.
That's the like hipster thing to do.
That was my what is the hipster thing to do?
Have coffee. Like
Have coffee, take a
shop.
nap.
Take a nap.
That's hipster to have coffee and take a nap.
Yeah.
Then I guess that's fine. I'll be hipster because it was a good nap. It was a good cup of coffee.
There you go.
I wish I could take a nap.
Yeah, I went to this new place here off of Chastain called Tintos.
Tintos?
It's a Colombian joint.
Who'd you go with?
Dan, one of the guys, from
Dan,
church.
I know who that is.
Yeah, we met up.
That's like
chit chat.
that's the KSU hotspot.
Right.
That's where all the kids
Well,
go.
there wasn't a hot spot at 10:00 in the morning on Saturday.
They're not really in class right now.
But
Well,
nah,
like
man.
everybody that comes to the worship night. That's why we had worship night on Friday.
Oh yeah, how did we forget that?
Hello.
Everybody that comes to the worship night,
Legacy, right?
yeah,
Legacy night.
Legacy nights.
Yeah.
they're always at Tintos. Like all their pictures of everything
Dude,
is always hanging
it's-
out at Tintos.
Here's the thing, though, right? It's owned by Colombians, and they're getting their beans from Colombia. However they're getting them sourced or whatever. But it's inexpensive too.
Nice.
Like I'll get a double shot
Like
espresso.
the cost of real coffee. Like
Yeah, it's like I'll get a double shot.
Coffee's supposed to cost.
Yeah, I'll get a double shot espresso, and it's like $2.30 something, $2.40 something.
Yeah, okay.
Nice. Yeah,
That
okay.
sounds
You know,
right.
I mean, it's not. It's not. I mean,
It's not $6.
it's,
like at
right. You're not
Starbucks.
paying like $4 for or double that
I
at a
paid
Starbucks
$5
or whatever.
for a mocha the other day. I was like, man, this is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, but yeah, we had Legacy nights
so we had Legacy.
on Friday.
We were talking about me. I think you make it out.
Yeah, but
Legacy
you were
nights.
there too,
Oh, I was.
right? So
Or was I?
but the deal is like I wanted to point something out because you pointed out this happened last month too,
Correct.
right? That
It was a different group.
a completely different crowd.
Right. The only people that were the same were the worship team, and then the boyfriend of one of the girls in the worship team.
That could be a good thing.
No, we're not saying it's a bad thing.
No, it's a great thing. We love
It's
that.
it's a funny thing because
It's
we've done it.
interesting, yeah.
We've done it. This is the third time,
Mhm.
and I think. Well, no, with that one kid that was there, I can't think of his name. That he was there last night, but he was there at the first one too.
Who, Logan?
No.
Lucas?
Is it Lucas? I don't know the kid, the autistic kid,
Oh, Michael.
Michael. I know.
That's right, Michael. Yeah, he wasn't there. He wasn't there last month.
Last month, but he was,
Uh-huh.
But like when Logan, he's coming
Yeah,
because
yeah.
he's coming to hang out. And then the boyfriends, obviously he's coming because his girlfriend's singing in the group. And then Logan's girl was here visiting.
Yeah, she's visiting from college.
Yeah, but it was
Which is
weird.
funny because I was a youth pastor.
we had so many
right?
we had so
So-
many kids today, like little kids this week. It was
Well, that's the thing. Like Magda's new boss came, and
and he
Wow.
and he
brought the team.
he's a
team.
he's a foster parent.
Okay.
So he has a lot of foster
How old
kids.
are these kids?
like little
Anywhere
little
from
kids.
babies to like toddlers
Huh.
to the twins, right? The only and then his
Right.
niece and his mother-in-law, right? The only one that
Oh, that was the older lady. Was his
Right,
mother-in-law?
was his
'Cause
mother-in-law.
I thought that was his wife, but I was like,
no, the
thinking-
wife was the one that always had the baby and the morenita, and she was always carrying one of the babies.
Oh, I
'Cause
totally.
there's a little baby.
She was Morenita.
Yeah.
I didn't see her, and the lights were low, so I guess I didn't see her because I didn't see her. All I saw was the older lady holding the baby.
And then the niece, like, cause she had like an older girl.
Right.
So the only one that's theirs, I just found this out yesterday. The only one that's theirs is the older boy.
Gotcha.
Right. I think the twins, they were finally adopted. Like,
Sure.
Whatever.
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 These kids were like running all over the place. I couldn't really track.
no, the older kids weren't. It was just the toddlers. It's just the toddlers. But he's a foster parent, and that's
Yeah, he had like a.
that's a dope thing. That's a dope thing to do, especially for Christians. I think all Christians should at least foster if they can adopt. If you can
Sure.
do it, you should do it.
Sure. Yes. If you can do it,
That's what I'm saying. If
I-
you can, you
I
should.
I cannot do it,
No, not right now.
or ever.
Let's find out after next week.
What's going on next week?
I don't know what is going on
it's
next
fun.
week.
Do I have to keep tabs on Facebook?
It's Father's Day, right? So
Next week is Father's
Next week is
Day, so
Father's
say
Day.
hi to your fathers if they're not here. then
my father's dead.
then go to the grave and say hi to the grave.
Right?
Yeah.
So
What's
no,
up,
but it was
Pop?
dope. It's dope. I love the fact that it's month 3, and month 3 is a different set of people.
Yeah, and it was we had it was a little bit of a hiccup because the guitar player didn't show up till halfway through.
Dude, like he was leaving and they told him he needed to stay because like his replacement didn't show up.
So, but we pushed
But it
through,
was cool, it was
that's
cool.
that's the thing. You do what you can, and actually it turned out to be okay. It wasn't that
Yeah,
bad.
it was cool.
Singing a cappella. Went old school. Went primitive Baptist. We got primitive Baptist on them fools.
That's right.
Only thing that would have made it completely primitive Baptist if we had told the men to sit on one side and the women on the other.
You guys have a drum over there. Y'all could have played that drum.
No.
I'd be like, duh, 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 we will. Or,
Hey man, whatever works. I saw a
a
drum sitting in the living room. That little drum that I gave.
Eso está desafinado.
Why?
But nobody would know.
That's true.
Afínalo.
No one would know because the beat would be da 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 da.
But no, it was
No, it was So the
was
next
dope.
one will be we haven't set a
July
date.
13th.
July.
Yeah.
Oh,
I said it that night, dude. The
I
second
don't-
Friday in July is July 13th.
yeah. I don't pay attention ever
I
to
said it on
anything.
Friday.
Put it in the calendar. That's how I know. Yeah. So July 13th, we'll have the next one. So that should be
And
fun.
everybody and anybody.
and maybe this time we'll
Is
see some
invited.
repeat offenders. Will come and worship with us.
Cool.
Because remember, it's summer, so a lot of the people that show up are
Yeah,
students. So they
there
go
are.
home and whatever. So.
And we're working on some stuff with it. So I mean, we got a lot of little things. We got to start focusing in and nailing some stuff down because we've gotten a little scatterbrained. But no, for me, I didn't do nothing. I had nothing fun this weekend like you guys with your exciting lives. I went and watched the movie. That's all I did.
How was it?
I watched Hotel Artemis.
Yeah, I know. How was it?
It was okay. It was not what I expected, not what I had hoped.
So it's not. So it wasn't good.
But it was. No, I'm not saying it wasn't good. It was.
I'm saying it wasn't good.
It was all right, but it wasn't what I had what I thought it was gonna be. I was expecting something completely different. I was gonna watch Ocean's 8, but Movie Pass didn't cover it because they were showing it in IMAX. So I was like,
Ocean's 8?
Yeah,
Like
so,
Ocean's 7, Ocean's 8?
No, like Ocean's
It's
11,
11.
Ocean's 8.
No, like, but it's the same people? Like,
yes,
No.
That, really?
It's
No.
well, it's a female crew, but they're in the same movie universe.
Mm.
So Sandra Bullock plays the sister of
George Clooney.
George Clooney
I like
From-
Sandra Bullock.
from the Ocean's movies.
She's a good actor.
So, anyway, so that's what I. So whatever. And then yeah, maybe by next week I'll have something fun,
Yeah,
something
yeah.
fun to
Well,
announce.
let's find
Talk
out
2
about
weeks.
that. 2 weeks?
in 2 weeks.
Yeah, because Father's Day is on Sunday. And yeah. Dirt.
All right. I'm done with Jay. Let's move on. All right, so quickly. All right, we're gonna move on quickly because we got a lot of ground to cover. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and announce the song for this week that we're choosing, and then we're gonna kind of roll into our 2 stories, because it all kind of fits. All of this kind of fits in perfectly, in a way, with a lot of the stuff that's been kind of going on and
Right.
in society today here in America, especially. So to this week's song that we're choosing, and we want you guys to listen to, and as always, it'll be there is a music video for it, and it will be on the website. One of our favorite groups here at the podcast, Christafari, and the song is called "Your Beauty Chased Me." And other than it being just it's a very kind of worship style song, right? The video was cool.
Roots worship.
What's cool about the video is that they're doing a music video, and part of that video is them going to minister to a group of Native Americans, Havasupai Indians in Supai Falls, which is in the
Bottom of the Grand
bottom
Canyon.
of the Grand Canyon, which we're watching this video and we're like, Junior is like, that's green screen, or no, excuse me, that's yellow screen.
That's yellow screen.
That's the yellow screen. That's that new technology. Because it does. I mean, it
looks weird, man.
It
I mean,
wa-
the people look real.
It looked great. What do you mean?
it looked
looked weird?
amazing. I think it's because you know what it is.
Might be the 4K.
I think it's
though.
the high def and
Yeah.
the 4K the 4K TV kind of up converts that high def, and
Yeah.
sometimes it gives it a little bit of that.
And the fact that we've never seen that, and we before,
Yeah,
and we're still in disbelief that actually exists
Like
down there.
there was these little waterfalls,
Yeah,
and
like
the,
oasis in the
and-
middle of the canyon.
and the rivers, the water was like crystal
It was
clear.
It was like blue.
You know, it was like the Caribbean water. You know, like you would
Yeah.
expect to. You know,
Like,
it was. But it's Junior doesn't believe it, but it's real.
Nah, I'm like Thomas, man. I gotta be there.
So we're gonna take you and drop you off a
Let's
helicopter.
go.
You let us know if it's real or not when you land.
Let's go.
So but Christafari, it's cool because they show you know, as they go into this village to share the gospel, the Supai village at the bottom of the Grand Canyon, Arizona. They go to do a concert and to minister and take supplies and that kind of thing. So it
and give free concerts.
they give a concert, they give the supplies, they tell these kids about Jesus, they tell these people about Jesus. They even celebrate, which I thought was very cool. They even celebrated their culture with them,
Yes.
along with, it wasn't like, no, we're just gonna here to do this, but it's like you teach us about your culture, and we're gonna teach you about Jesus. You know, that's like that exchange. It's always
Yeah.
very, very cool to see that mindset and that style of ministering, right?
It's not about this is all wrong and demonic. You need this only, right? It's an embracing. You know, it's an
culture,
acknowledgement,
yes.
a respect. You know, it's dope.
So Christafari, Your Beauty Chased Me, roots reggae worship, original worship song.
Right.
Definitely check it out on the
website tomorrow.
on the website tomorrow. The next thing we're going to jump on is the next story we're going to jump on is so there's this lady by the name of Heidi Baker. She has a ministry. Her and her husband, they're missionaries, and they're out in Mozambique. And so, as always, we always like to point out, we always like to share when fellow believers are, are under attack, potentially under attack,
Right.
Persecution, potential persecution, kind of those things, because we always want, like, and we'll always say this. I will always say this. We always want to be aware of the real persecution that's going on outside of our country, because we get like I always say, we get caught up in thinking that because if somebody tells us, "Oh, you can't," "Oh, hey, listen, don't have your Bible on your desk, put it in your desk drawer," "Oh, I'm being persecuted to the nth degree," and yet in another country, you got people that are getting murdered because they're Christians. So it's that kind of that perspective,
and also, so that we're aware what's going on in the kingdom, so that we can pray.
And maybe even God calls some of you.
Right,
not us, but some of you, to go into these hot spots.
Not me,
because
you,
not
yes,
me or
not
you, but them.
No,
maybe
you,
Junior.
You,
no, not me.
You.
I'm not going.
Man, I gotta be sent for me to go.
So we're sending you. We're data collection tonight.
Right? We're gonna
a GoFundMe page has been opened.
Not that kind of sent.
We've got all we need is $1,000 to send Junior to Mozambique.
We need a goat too, so he can say "bah."
He can buy the goat when he gets there. We can just give him pocket money for that.
True that.
So Heidi Baker issued a prayer request because in Mozambique right now, there are Islamic extremists that have been killing Christians, burning villages, about 60 miles north of their headquarters, where they are in northern Mozambique. And so.
And Heidi Baker, she has headquarters there, but she's based out of Nashville, right, with Iris International. She's done conferences and stuff out there.
Right.
And
and she was in the Holy Ghost videos.
Correct. That's what I was trying to remember.
She was in those Holy Ghost videos. And the thing is that they don't, it's not, they have a ministry with, they run schools.
Right.
Here we go. Yeah. They operate feeding programs for thousands of orphans. They run free health clinics, manage primary, secondary schools, have fostered several thousand church plants. So, I mean, these are like kingdom people doing kingdom work.
Yes.
In areas that need the kingdom. So we want to remember them, because like 60 miles is nothing as far as distance. For somebody to, you get in a car, you're there in an hour, and so it's very close. It's very close. This dangerous. We want to make sure we pray for them, pray for those people that are being attacked by these extremists, and pray that in the midst of all that chaos and all that darkness, right, that the light of God, shines through.
Correct.
In those situations. And I got a feeling that those that are fleeing are going to be fleeing to Heidi's ministry.
Yeah.
And where they're gonna not just get fed physically, but they're gonna get fed spiritually. They're gonna get to hear about Jesus.
But that also puts an even bigger target. I'll be the guy to say it. That will put an even bigger target on them, their organization, and what they're doing there, right? Because if they're being persecuted, and that's where the people that are being persecuted are running to, then that's where they'll go, right? So we gotta really like rally together and just and pray for their safety, right? Pray God's will.
There's an anybody in the body of Christ that is in those places, because their whole ministry is going to suffer. Not just them.
Yeah.
Right.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Well, will it suffer or will it thrive? Because
both.
Right, because
Suffering.
the suffering
will produce the thriving.
Right.
But
So,
they'll still suffer.
I mean, there will be some suffering, but I think if we think kingdom-mindedness, we all know that the church always thrives in persecution.
Absolutely.
It doesn't thrive in
It doesn't make it a good thing.
right. No, but it is a thing. Because we've always talked, and we've talked about this before. We tend to, especially here in the States, because we're safe. We tend to think of suffering as a bad thing, right? It's bad that you're suffering. but Jesus said you're gonna suffer,
Yeah.
right? And Paul said, "I've suffered," right? But it's been a good thing. My suffering has been for like good. So I'm just saying, like that's how I try to shift my thinking when I think about these things. That yes, physically they're suffering, they might suffer, but
And it's easy. It's
it
easy
is.
saying it from this side of the.
But that's
the
the
pond.
That's the point.
That's the point. But that's the point. That's the
Yeah.
that's the point. That's exactly the point I'm making.
Yeah.
But we have to think that way.
Mm.
You know, we can't think, oh, poor people, they're gonna suffer. But it's, well, you know, they're doing something
That we won't do.
we won't do.
Yeah.
So this week, I'm gonna preface it like this as we dive into what we're gonna be talking about today. The topic is help, right? Or the title is help.
Right.
So this week we had two celebrities that committed suicide.
Well, now it's 3.
Well, no, but this guy did he commit suicide or did he die of a drug overdose?
Well, it wasn't a drug overdose because he was in rehab.
Well, I mean,
so
those guys die of drug overdoses all the time in rehab.
in rehab,
Yeah.
I don't
Just-
know.
Just because they're in rehab, don't mean they ain't getting the drugs.
Shoot, they get the drugs in jail.
You know, they get them everywhere. Look that up. So we'll start with the first two. So, and I cannot think of this lady's name.
Kate Spade.
Kate Spade, who was a fashion designer. She was known for some purses. I think it was kind of the big where she kind of blew up and then she sold the business. So she killed herself. She committed suicide earlier in the week by hanging, I believe. She hung herself
Yes.
off of her, off the doorknob. Then a couple of days later,
Wait, what? Is she that short?
no, but people do that all the time.
Off a doorknob?
Yeah.
How you do that?
So you tighten
That's
it
how,
up real
that's how Robin
short.
Williams killed himself too.
Yeah, you tighten it up real short to where when you drop, you're just hanging. But you're
It's a slow choke.
Yeah,
It's
you're-
like a sad. Robin Williams tied the rope to his neck and to a doorknob, and sat in a chair, and leaned it forward until he choked himself out.
That's crazy.
yeah. So
I'll say this. That's some brave stuff because I don't got the. I'm just saying, bro. I don't got the
stones,
Yeah,
the stones,
the-
just say it, the stones.
Yo, no, man, no.
Yeah, like yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, suicide by hanging is you've got to have it's got to be that bad, right? Emotionally, spiritually, or whatever. Because if you don't snap your neck right away, you're gonna die slowly. Wow. So Kate Spade hung herself. She committed suicide. I think it was like on Monday. And like 2 or 3 days later, we get that Anthony Bourdain commits suicide. And Anthony Bourdain's the guy had what was that show? He had several shows where he was traveling. He had one where he would land in an airport and he would go 25 minutes out and discover food and no reservations. That's what I'm thinking about. So he had no reservations. He had all these travel shows, super successful. He came out of the New York food scene, wrote a book.
Right. He's like, that's what I was telling Junior, because Junior had never heard of Anthony Bourdain,
or Spade.
and
I had never heard of her.
yeah, I have. Anyway, never heard of Anthony Bourdain, right? But
Hey, I'll say it. I live under a rock. I don't-
yeah, because he doesn't, he doesn't have TV,
Right.
he doesn't, right? But right, like he was a New Yorker, right?
Right.
He was a New Yorker, self-made.
So was she though, right?
Yeah, she was too, but she came from money, right? Like Anthony
Newton.
Anthony Bourdain, like self-made, street kid, job at a restaurant,
Worked his way up.
worked
yeah.
his way up until he
Yeah.
became like this world-renowned chef.
Right.
Right?
He wrote a book, Kitchen Confidential, kind of they said the underbelly of the New York City
Food scene.
food scene.
And I was reading. I wasn't reading. I saw an interview of his where the reason why he got so famous, right? Because he was going to quit everything and he was depressed because the restaurant wasn't working, wasn't like becoming successful, and he wrote that Kitchen Confidential was a letter to the New Yorker, right? And he did it as something to do, right? And then his mom found it and told him, well, I know somebody at the New Yorker, just mail it to them. It's like, nah, this letter's crap. Nobody's going to read it. They're not going to do anything with it. So then I think he was like high or drunk or both or whatever.
Right.
And he went and he sent it in, right, just for the hell of it. Never heard back from the person. So he just gave up. And then his mom calls like, hey, your letter's in your thing is in the New Yorker as an article. Not as a letter.
Right, to the editor.
Right? It was like he printed it in the New Yorker as an article. And because of that, his mom continually pushing him to send a letter, and some drunken binge or whatever, right?
Right.
That's when
and then he wrote the book.
That's when it blew up, and the restaurant
New York Times
got
bestseller,
famous,
blah blah blah, and then he ended up doing these travel shows, and they're awesome. Like I don't watch reality type stuff. I would watch it just as a time waster because it was always interesting because it was funny. History.
You would swear it wasn't scripted.
Yeah, I mean, you would have history, and then you would have him eating, and he wasn't pretentious. That was the best. A lot of food shows, you got like the chefs and stuff. They're real pretentious about, and he was like, I love to eat pork. This is the best pork. And he was just.
And he would also go to like the hole in the wall places.
Right.
Right. He would ask the locals, hey, what's the food like known? What's the best known food in this part of the world? Oh well, like. Whatever, like pig guts, right?
Yeah,
Whatever,
this cart
right?
makes the best pig guts in the city.
No, this lady,
I love pig guts.
This lady in this house with the dog side on the side of the house with the red roof, she makes the best whatever. And he would try to find this lady's house, go there with all these cameras, knock on the door, and say, "Hey, so we were told that you make the best whatever," and then like she would cook it for him.
Yeah, and
he would be there, and he would try to learn how to make it, and he would try it.
And he was anti-vegetarians, vegans,
awesome.
Which is why he loved pork. Like he was like, pork is the best, like the best meat. We're like, yo, like this dude knows.
That's right.
So,
I forgot about that. He was very anti-vegan.
Yeah. So
vegetarian.
He committed suicide. Did you find out about this kid?
They still don't say.
They still don't say. So then another celebrity died. I don't know who this kid was because I never watched any of the shows he was on. But
yes, you did.
Okay. I never watched the Goldbergs.
Okay, no, you did it. I thought you watched the Goldbergs.
No, I watched one episode.
No, but yes, you did because he was on Modern Family also.
I don't remember him from Modern Family.
I don't remember him from anything.
So the point is, the poor kid died. But this fits because he was in rehab, right? And people go to rehab for what?
Exactly.
For drugs and alcohol, which we know when you're an addict, it's because you're trying to fill something.
I'm trying to fill a void.
Right, you're trying to fill some kind of void. You're trying to forget something, right? You're trying to erase something that's going on. And so
he was only 20 years old, man.
And he was 20. So we have these people that are seemingly at the top of their fields. Right, they're rich, right? They're famous. They're the kind of people that can go to a restaurant and they'll get seated before you, even if you have a reservation and they don't, right? Mm-hmm. They might even tell you, "Hey, man, your reservation is being pushed back an hour because we're going to seat these people." Right? They're on that level. They're on that level that all of us, at one point or another in our lives, have kind of aspired to or thought of that. How great would that be to be able to be in that position? Yet, right? The idea is that there was something was going on in their lives that caused them to feel that that was the only answer.
Well, Kate Spade,
right?
Kate Spade, it was put out there, right, that she was struggling with depression for a long time, right?
Well, it's
right?
always
like her sister in an interview stated, that she had really real issues with depression, and like the fact that happened, like, didn't surprise her, because in all the talks or whatever, like, that was like a topic, and she would try to like help her or try to have her get help, but she wouldn't for sake of appearance, right. So that's another thing, right? So the thing is that I was reading somewhere. I was like, oh, why do we care? You know, when celebrities like kill themselves, and it's because we and I think I said this on Friday at Legacy Nights. You know, we see only what they want us to see.
Right.
Right. We see the persona that they put on TV and their TV shows, red carpet affairs, pictures, right? See them smiling. We see the greatness, like, oh man, we wish you had that life. Such a great life, such a great life. But we don't know the internal struggle or the struggle that or the suffering that they're going through behind closed doors, right? Only people close to them know what that is. Like Kate Spade, you see her smiling and laughing and with all these pictures, right? Very successful, right? But we didn't know that she was like struggling with depression.
Right.
Right. To the point where.
Right. And you know, yeah, I mean, I think the reason we care is because we idolize celebrities so much that if they're gonna kill themselves and they have all this stuff that I don't have and they have all this access that I don't have, then what chance do I stand?
Yeah.
Right? Where how am I gonna make it?
If you get depressed.
Well, even if you don't, because see, and
we still don't know why or what drove Anthony Bourdain.
We don't know why
Anthony
Bourdain killed himself. People, you could be depressed. You could be sad. I mean, there's, we want to always say it was depression. And that's why people killed themselves. My grandfather killed himself. He hung himself. We don't know why, but we do know that he was very angry before he killed himself because of some other stuff that was going on. For all we know, he was just so angry that he was just like, well, I'm just going to end it because I don't see how I'm going to, because I'm so fed up, because the Gonzaleses are very volatile like that. And so he killed himself. Didn't even know. So nobody knows to this day, he must have been depressed. All we know is that he was furious about something. He was furious about something when he had moved to Georgia, and he killed himself. So I think that kids kill themselves because they're bullied.
Yep.
Right? Because they feel isolated. Right? Doesn't mean you're depressed if you're feeling isolated.
Because friends have boyfriends and girlfriends and they
Right.
don't, right? Because just anything, right? They
Right.
can't. It's crazy.
Whatever
right? Reason it is, right?
So as we get ready to jump to scripture, this guy by the name of Matt Walsh. I always want to call him something different. Mark Walsh. Matt Walsh. He wrote an article on the Daily Wire, and we're gonna have it, right, Jay? We're gonna put it on the link it. We're gonna link it to the website because I think he hits the nail on the head, to an extent, right, as far as what the problem that we have is. Excuse me, as to why it seems that why it isn't more and more people are killing themselves, because in this country over the last 10 years, crime has actually gone down, right?
Suicide has gone up by 30%.
And suicide has gone up. And it's like, what's going on here? Why has suicide all of a sudden skyrocketed? And he points this out. Everybody always wants to say mental illness. Well, it's mental illness. We have a mental illness issue. Well, we've had mental illness issues since since the beginning of time, I guess you could say, right? Suicides weren't that common 30 years ago. Why is it that
and if it's all these people committing suicide and they're not connected to each other from everywhere, right? How is it that all of a sudden now this mental health issue, the same mental health issue, is just like popping up? It's like randomly.
Is it more now? Right, and we say that saying that it's not, and I say that saying that it's not like that there's not a mental health aspect to this, right? So no one's saying that, but
it could be argued that depression is a mental health issue.
Right. Well, I think they do say that it is a mental health issue.
Well, then there you go. I was right. Because
you can take pills, make you happy. But his thesis is basically that the reason, the one of the major reasons that we see all this uptick in suicides is because there's a lack of what's the word, Jay?
He says that there's an emptiness.
Emptiness. There's an emptiness in our lives. Right? Now, if we kind of think about it, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? Because, how we interact with, especially with all the technology that we have today, we interact with it in a way to what? To kind of fill gaps of whatever it is in our lives. I like for myself, like I know, and I always my dad, anytime I'd get in the car with him, I'd always turn on the radio.
Yeah.
Have some music on or something. And my dad one day goes, you can't ride in silence? You can't just ride in silence? I'm like, no. He's like, why? He says, because the voices in my head start talking to me. I need to keep them occupied. But it's because silence drives me crazy. Like I don't like silence, right? Because well, the reality is I get lost in my own thoughts, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes I don't want to have to deal with them. So what do I do, right? So I listen to stuff to keep my mind occupied. But we see that we see that with with social media, right? Entertainment, whatever it is all of us trying to fill this emptiness. But what we're seeing is that we're actually just becoming emptier, right?
We're trying to fill a void with things that are fleeting.
Correct.
Right. So like it's good for that time,
and they're a void themselves.
Right? Yeah.
It's
Facebook
is a void.
Right? Like we'll watch
get lost.
a YouTube video, right? And then the video is done, and it's like, and then what?
Right.
So it's just like this hyper consumption of empty, meaningless things to try to fill up a space in us, right? That we think and we feel that is empty and meaningless, right? So it's like a vicious cycle of like nothing.
So when you have a void, when there's a void in you that you're trying to fill up with everything, but the void also leads to hopelessness. I think that is the thing that causes us to kill ourselves. It's not that I'm depressed, but that I've lost all hope. Because me and Jay have talked about we get in our moments of depression where we get depressed and where we've thought about suicide or but the reason I don't do it is because I do have a glimmer of hope. But when you have no hope,
when you feel that you have
when
no
you
hope.
have no hope, when you feel like there's no hope, then you get the stones to be able to do something.
And it's not even that you get the stones. It's like it doesn't matter. Right. You get to a place. You get to a place where it doesn't matter. You get to a place where the pain that you feel in taking your life, right, is at least a feeling.
Right.
Right. That's why people cut themselves. Right. So it's not even like
or do drugs.
All of a sudden you get this courage and this audacity to take your life. It's just that it doesn't matter. Right. You get to a point where nothing matters, right? It doesn't matter if you live or die. It doesn't matter if you stick around or if you disappear. Like, it doesn't matter, right? Because as you said, you lose hope. And the minute you lose hope, then you lose faith, you lose sight, you lose everything.
You lose a will to live.
Right? You lose all will to anything, right? So it's very important, and I'm glad you said that, right? It's very important that we realize, right? And the reason why we titled this episode "Help" is because we don't ask for help, right? We suffer alone, we struggle alone, right? We try to work these things out alone, and we don't ask for help, right? And something as simple as texting somebody, since you're on your phone all day anyway, right? Calling someone, reaching out to someone, and just saying, "Yo, I need help. I am currently feeling this way," right? And we don't do it, right? We don't do it because for whatever reason, there are many reasons why we don't ask for help, right? Because in that hopelessness, right, we feel that we're not worthy of help.
Right, might be embarrassed,
right?
Or whatever. Yeah.
So, and it's called help because those of us that deal with depression, and I say those of us because I still currently deal with depression, right? We want the help, but we're afraid to ask for the help.
Right.
Or we don't ask for whatever reason. The difference, what I can say separates me from other people is that, I have come to a place where I'm no longer afraid of asking for help.
Right.
Right. I tell my wife, I tell my friends, right? I need prayer, or what are you doing? So where are you right now? I need to go because I'm struggling with this dark stuff,
Right.
and I need, come over, right? Or let's go somewhere, whatever, because sometimes we need those reminders that, even though things look hopeless or things look dark, we need those reminders that there are people that surround us that actually love and care for us, because that's a big thing. That's a big thing, because if things don't work out, or you feel that you're in a place, or you're not in a place where you thought you would have been, or you should be, or whatever, or you didn't get the job that you wanted, that you feel qualified for, just like any number of things, right? You don't feel loved, right? There's no hope in love, right? That you matter. And for whatever reason, since you feel that you don't matter, for that reason, you don't reach out to anybody. And it's important. It's important. It's important. It's important. I can't stress how important it is for you to have the courage. It takes more courage to kill yourself than it does to send a text message. Yo, what are you doing right now? I need help.
Right.
Right. I need help. Come over, or where are you so I can go to you? It's something that and I'm speaking from experience, because there was a time where, it was funny because everything was great, right? And on a flight from Seattle to Georgia, I got super depressed and I disappeared for a few hours. But I just put my phone on silent, and I didn't want to deal. And then when I put my phone back on, I was in a lot of trouble because the wife, friends, everybody, right? But none of that mattered at the moment.
Right.
And none of that mattered at the moment. At the moment, I was in a dark place. I still don't know why, because things went great. But, I'm just realize, you count your blessings and realize that you're more important than you think of yourself, right? That you matter more to people than you realize, right? Because you're looking at yourself through your own filter, and your own filter is already dark and down and depressed, right? Rather than seeing yourself in the eyes of the people that love you. Right? So, the scripture, right?
Right. So right as you about to go into the scripture, the one thing I wanted to add to that is there's the flip side of that. When when people kill themselves, or when people do things that harm themselves, there's always signs. And we've also got to make sure we're aware. So for example, sometimes Jay Jay might post something, one of his cryptic Facebook posts, right? And I'll read it, and I'll reach out. Hey man, are you okay? Is everything all right? Because that was kind of cryptic what you wrote.
That's true. You do that.
And so Jay might be like, yeah man, everything's fine, or I'm overwhelmed, I'll tell you later. But but it's the idea of reaching out to those people in our lives, just to check up to see how they're doing, especially because we know. I think we all know, for the most part, our friends who maybe struggle with certain issues, or maybe struggle with certain things. So it's just reaching out and saying, hey man, what you doing?
Especially when it's somebody like a friend that you've talked to or you interact with a lot, right? And then they disappear, right? Right. They don't respond to your text messages. They don't text you. They don't call. You call them to hang out. They pick up. They're always busy. They don't want to hang out, right? Dude, that's a sign, right? That is a definite sign for you to get up, go over to where they are, and be like, hey, ¿qué lo que pasa aquí, right? What's going on? Like,
and then you confuse them because they didn't know you spoke Spanish.
What the problem is, right? These are the thing is that, and also we become a society where we think that that it's better to leave them alone than to invade and interfere and like get in their business. Like, hey, what's up, right?
Right.
And then we're like, oh, well, I saw signs, but you know, I didn't want to like get in their business, or
Right.
I didn't want to like, you know, oh, I'm not supposed to judge. I mean, he wasn't hurting anybody. No, dude, he was hurting himself, man. He was hurting himself. You let it happen because you saw and you knew something was up, and you didn't do or say anything, right? You didn't get in their face about it. Because some of us we need, right? Some of us are people. Yeah, you need to get in their face about it, right? You know, I don't want to be too intrusive. Be intrusive. Be intrusive. Sometimes that's what's needed, right? Psalm 34:18 says this: if nothing else, right? If you lose all hope of anything else, right? Psalm 34:18 says, I found the verse, right? It says, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted. He rescues those whose spirits are crushed, right? And that's another thing, right? I'm not even going into the other verses that I came here with. That's the one that I was really looking for, because sometimes people, not even sometimes, all the time, people will fail us, right? And we put our hope in things. We put our hope in position. We put our hope in titles. We put our hope in people. And all those things are fleeting. Those things don't matter, right? Sometimes people don't matter because people will always fail you. You put your hope on things that don't matter, you will always be disappointed, right? You will always be let down, right? But the Lord is near the brokenhearted, and he rescues those whose spirits are crushed. When you're depressed, when you're down in the face, right, and you want to take your life, your spirit is crushed, right? Cry out to Jesus. Cry out to Jesus. I think Psalm 121 says, you know, I lift my voice to the heavens. From where does my help come? My help comes from the Lord who created the heavens and the earth, right? I have to think of it in Spanish to say it, to translate it in English, right? And not even the song. I had to think the song, the corito, right? Right? I lift my eyes to the heavens, right? So where does your help come from? And it wasn't, you know, that reason was because, like, was it Jerusalem was covered, it's surrounded by mountains, right? And mountains are strong, they're high, right? So God is even higher than the highest mountain, and he will always come to help. And if you tag that in to the psalm we just read, right? He comes to rescue those whose spirits are crushed. You feel like you have nobody else to talk to, nobody else to cry out for help. Cry out to Jesus. He will rescue you. He will rescue you because your spirit is crushed. He will rescue you because your heart is broken, your life is broken, and that is where you can seriously have such an encounter with God that it'll be miraculously life-changing. And if nothing else, right, and you do that, I mean, and we'll post links to all of these things, right? There's a suicide hotline. There are help hotlines, right? There are churches in your area where you can go to and just speak to somebody. Right. Sometimes we just need to connect and speak to somebody, right? Right. Even Superman went and spoke to the pastor in the movie.
You know what? Catholic churches are always open, right? If even if it's just going and speaking to a priest and saying, "I need help," you know, let's not get all, territorial here, but it's finding someone to, heck, honestly, stop a police officer, go to the fire station. Hey, I need someone to talk to because I feel I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
And people will step up, but I think that, so that's on our end, but on, like I mentioned earlier, as those that we observe those around us, we need to, and I think as believers, and I'm speaking to believers, is that we need to be more sensitive and more aware of those around us. I remember a story a long time ago where this kid was walking home. So if I remember the story right, the kid was walking home, and he's kind of like, these bullies came and they like knocked his books down and like pushed him to the ground or whatever. And this other kid saw it, and he went over and he picked the kid up and he helped him collect his stuff, and he started talking to him and walked home with him and continued this conversation. Well, it turned out like many years later, I think the kid that was bullied was like like a Georgia State cop. But then in that story, this kid was contemplating killing himself that day because he felt abandoned. Right? He's bullied, no friends, all that stuff. And so this one kid just did the right thing, right? He stepped in, and because he saw a kid in trouble. And people always talk about with the school shootings that we've had these last couple months, and then people talk about, what could be done. Here's what could be done. Why is it that a lot of these kids are isolated and they feel alone and they feel abandoned and they feel like they're not going to get love, like no one's going to love them? Mm-hmm. Well, here's an idea. Stop bullying them and befriend them. Yeah, they might be weird. Right? They might be weird, and they probably are weird. Right? That's probably a reason they can't seem to have friends, because they don't have those skills. But as a believer, we're not called to be friends with the cool kids, right? Which is where we get ourselves in trouble.
Right.
Right? We're called to be a friend to everyone.
Right? We're called to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. Right.
And so, if you happen to be a high school kid or a college kid that's listening to this, you know who that weird kid is that no one is friends with, and it might get picked on. You might have been one of the ones that picked on him, right?
Or you might be that kid.
You befriend him, befriend that kid.
That goes back to the episode of stepping up instead of stepping out, right? Like step up, right? Because we get cliquish, and we tend to surround ourselves by people that are like ourselves, right? And we forget that there are other people, right? And the gospel is we've mentioned this a few times. The gospel of Christ, the gospel of Jesus Christ, is always about the other person, right? It's always about the other person. Instead of looking at yourself and within your circle, step outside of your circle, right? Yeah. Step up to the person outside of your circle and befriend them. Be that light in that person's darkness, because that person has darkness and he's in need, or she's in need of light. And we are called to be the salt and the light. So step up and be the light in that person's darkness.
So help. If you need help, we encourage you to find the help. If you see someone that needs help, we encourage you to be the help.
To be the help.
And we need to, as believers, right? Because this is a podcast primarily for believers, right? For ourselves, is that we need to make sure that we're looking at our surroundings and we're talking to those around us, and that we are, paying attention and saying, God, is there someone? I don't know if you guys. But I've heard dozens of stories, right, where it's just somebody's like, yeah, I was gonna hurt myself, but someone said hi to me. Yeah, someone spoke to me.
But even
right, even something as simple as engaging the culture that is around you, right? We all struggle with this. Getting lost in our, I'll go get a cup of coffee by myself before I come home to take a nap like a hipster. But what do I do when I sit down to get my cup of coffee?
You're on your phone.
I'm on my phone, right? What do I do when I go eat? I'm on my phone. All of us are guilty of this.
Yes.
All of us are guilty of this. And then we're like, why do I feel so disconnected with the rest of society? I don't even talk to the waiter or the waitress.
And the funny thing is that you actually are quote unquote connected.
Right.
But you're really not.
Right. You're connected to people you're not talking to.
It's a connected isolation, because we spend most of our times on our phone not even interacting, just looking. Looking at other people's interactions.
And passively looking.
Uh-huh.
How many times have you sat there like you're waiting for something, and you're just kind of scrolling through, scrolling. You're not really engaged. You're not even engaged.
Scrolling.
You're not even engaged at what you're not going like, oh wow, that's a really pretty, waterfall that they took. No, you're just kind of like, oh, it's a waterfall. Oh, look at this guy. Oh, what an idiot.
But I wanted to say something, because, right?
Close it out.
We're going to close it, right? We're a podcast of believers, mainly for believers. But we also don't want to forget the believers that are also like struggling or going through things, right? the great thing about being a believer that's going through things and struggling or suffering in silence is that you're surrounded by believers that you can speak to.
Yes.
Right? You're surrounded by leaders, other believers that possibly, whatever. You're surrounded by people that can pour into you, and that as kingdom people, we're called to help each other. We're called to be brothers and sisters to each other. Right? So
Yes.
if you're a believer that is struggling or suffering in silence, then find a leader, find a pastor, find a fellow believer that
Yes.
you can that you can tag and speak and pray together, and
Yes.
find an accountability partner that you can talk to and you can
Correct.
text and reach out to all the time, right? It's very important.
And
Find yourself at least 2 or 3,
if you find at least one.
right? At least
If
one.
you can,
but
get 2 or 3.
get 2 or 3. Get 2 or 3 accountability people
Yeah.
around you, and then people that you can also be accountable to and are accountable to you, right? It's very important.
And that's
That's the importance of koinonia.
That's it. It's one of our. It's like we just learned that word, right? We use it like we just learned it. And
Yeah.
We're like super excited about it. Hey, that's it. We are finished. As always, go to theoverflowpodcast.com. There you get all the information. There you can.
Thanks for listening.
Oh,
Remember to head on over
Use
to
the wrong one.
I didn't realize I used the wrong one.
more content. And don't
Oh,
forget to
good.
subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, or Stitcher.
So remember, that's theoverflowpodcast.com. I'm Joaquin,
I'm still Jay.
and we got Junior here with us. Hey, thanks for joining us.
Peace out, y'all.
We're a bunch of idiots.
Only you.